Jake Morrison sat at his computer on a Friday night, drinking his third beer and scrolling through weird auction websites. His friends Danny and Lisa were on the couch behind him, eating pizza and arguing about which movie to watch next. "Look at this," Jake said, pointing at his screen. "Someone is selling an alien house for $200. Danny Walsh looked up from his pizza slice. "That's obviously fake, man." "I don't know," Lisa Turner said, walking over to look. "The pictures look pretty real." Jake clicked on the listing. The photos showed a strange metal building that looked like a giant egg. It was silver and had weird symbols carved into its surface. The building sat in what looked like a desert somewhere. The seller's name was Martha Collins. She lived in Nevada. Her description said the house belonged to her dead husband. He had been a collector of strange things. She wanted to get rid of it because it took up too much space in her yard. "My husband bought this at a government auction in 1985, the listing said. "He always said it was a real alien house. I never believed him, but now I just want it gone. The buyer must arrange pickup. Transportation is included in the price." Jake read the details out loud. The house was 15 feet long and 10 feet wide. It had no windows that anyone could see. There was a small door on one side. The seller said it was made of some kind of metal that never got dirty or rusty. "Transportation included?" Lisa asked. "How do you transport a house?" "Maybe it comes apart," Danny said. "Like furniture from that Swedish store." Jake kept reading. The listing had been up for 3 weeks with no bids. Martha Collins had started the price at $5,000. She kept lowering it every few days. Now it was down to $200. "This is either the best deal ever or the biggest scam ever," Jake said. "Only one way to find out," Lisa said with a grin. Danny shook his head. "Don't encourage him. Remember when he bought that genuine medieval sword that turned out to be a cheap Halloween prop?" Jake ignored Danny and kept looking at the photos. Something about the building looked real. The metal had a weird shine to it. The symbols looked too complex to be fake, and the way the desert sand had blown around its base looked natural, like it had been sitting there for years. "I dare you to buy it," Lisa said. "That's a terrible idea," Danny said. Jake looked at his bank account. He had been saving money for a new car, but his old one still worked fine. $200 would not break him. And if it turned out to be real? "What if it's actually an alien house?" Jake asked. "Then you'll be the coolest guy on Earth," Lisa said. "Or you'll be out $200, Danny added. Jake stared at the screen. The auction ended in 2 hours. Still no other bids. He could probably get it for the minimum price. His phone buzzed. A text from his boss reminded him about a Monday morning meeting. Jake looked around his small apartment. He worked as a software developer for a boring company that made apps for banks. His life was not exactly exciting. "You know what?" Jake said. "I'm going to do it." "Really?" Lisa asked. "Really," Jake said. He created an account on the auction site and placed a bid for $200. For the next 2 hours, the three friends kept checking the listing. No other bids came in. At exactly 11 p.m., Jake won the auction. "Congratulations," the website said. "You are now the proud owner of one alien house." Jake's phone rang almost immediately. The caller ID showed a Nevada number. "Hello?" Jake answered. "Is this Jake Morrison?" asked an elderly woman's voice. "Yes, ma'am. This is Martha Collins. You just bought my husband's alien house." "Yes, I did." How does the pickup work?" Martha laughed. "That's the interesting part, honey. I don't arrange the pickup. They do." "They?" "The same folks who delivered it to my husband back in '85. I called the number he left me after the auction ended. They'll be in touch with you directly." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of folks?" "The alien kind, dear. My husband always said they were real professional about deliveries. Should be there in a few days." The line went dead. Jake stared at his phone. Danny and Lisa were looking at him with worried expressions. "What did she say?" Lisa asked. Jake told them about the conversation. Danny immediately started laughing. "She's just messing with you," Danny said. "It's probably some art project or something." The aliens are probably just guys in costumes. But Lisa looked thoughtful. What if she's serious? Then I guess we'll find out soon, Jake said. Over the weekend, Jake tried to research the house online. He found no other mentions of it anywhere. Martha Collins seemed to be a real person. Her husband had died 6 months ago. Before that, he had worked for the military in some kind of classified job. Jake also tried to research alien house sightings. He found lots of UFO websites, but nothing about actual alien buildings being sold on Earth. On Sunday night, Jake was getting ready for bed when his doorbell rang. He was not expecting anyone. It was almost midnight. He looked through the peephole and saw nothing. But the bell kept ringing. Jake opened the door carefully. Standing on his doorstep was the tallest person he had ever seen. The figure was at least 7 feet tall and wearing a dark blue uniform. Its face was hidden behind a helmet with a black visor. "Jake Morrison?" the figure asked. Its voice sounded strange, like it was coming through a radio. "Yes? I am worker designation 7742. We have a delivery for you." Jake looked past the figure. Parked on the street was the largest truck he had ever seen. It was not quite floating, but its wheels barely seemed to touch the ground. The truck had no visible driver's compartment. Instead, the front was smooth and covered in the same symbols Jake had seen on the house. "A delivery?" Jake asked. "One residential unit purchased through local commerce network. Delivery fee included in purchase price." 2 more tall figures appeared from behind the truck. They were all carrying strange devices that looked like a cross between a tablet and a flashlight. "Where would you like the unit placed?" "Worker designation 7742 asked. Jake's mind went blank. He lived in an apartment building. He had a small parking space, but it was nowhere near big enough for a house. I don't know," Jake said. Worker designation 7742 made some notes on his device. "Local housing regulations consulted. Unit will be placed in nearest appropriate location. Dimensional pocket will be created for legal compliance." Jake had no idea what that meant, but he nodded anyway. The 3 figures returned to their truck. Jake watched as they used some kind of beam to lift the alien house off the truck bed. The house seemed to weigh nothing at all. They carried it to the empty lot next to Jake's building. Then something impossible happened. The air around the house started to shimmer. The house seemed to sink into the ground, but not really. It was still there, but also somehow not there. Worker designation 7742 walked back to Jake and handed him a small crystal. "Activation key," the worker said. "Standard residential access. No returns policy in effect. Good luck, human Jake." The 3 figures got back in their truck and drove away. The truck made no sound at all. Jake stood in his doorway, holding the crystal and staring at the empty lot that somehow contained his new alien house. Jake did not sleep that night. He kept looking out his window at the empty lot where his alien house was supposedly hidden. In the morning light, he could see nothing unusual, just weeds and old concrete. But the crystal in his hand felt warm and seemed to pulse with a faint light. Danny and Lisa came over early Monday morning. Jake had called in sick to work. He needed to figure out what he had gotten himself into. "So where is it?" Danny asked, looking out the window. "Right there," Jake pointed to the lot. "I don't see anything," Lisa said. Jake held up the crystal. The alien guy said this was an activation key. "Well, activate it then," Lisa said. Jake walked outside with his friends following. He felt stupid standing in an empty lot holding a glowing crystal, but he pressed it anyway. The air began to shimmer again. Slowly, the alien house became visible. It looked exactly like the photos, but bigger and more impressive in person. The metal surface reflected the morning sun in strange ways. The symbols seemed to move slightly when Jake was not looking directly at them. "Holy crap," Danny whispered. A door appeared in the side of the house. It slid open silently, revealing a soft blue light inside. "Welcome, primary resident," said a melodic voice from somewhere inside the house. "Please enter for initial bonding procedure." Jake looked at his friends. "Should I go in?" "Are you crazy?" Danny asked. That thing just talked. But Lisa was already walking toward the door. Come on, we've come this far. Jake followed her inside. Danny came last, looking nervous. The inside of the house was nothing like Jake expected. The space was much larger than it should have been based on the outside dimensions. The walls glowed with soft light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The floor felt warm and soft under their feet. Welcome to your new residential unit, the voice said. I am your home management system. Please state your preferences for furniture and environment. A section of the wall started to change shape. It flowed like water but stayed solid. Within seconds, it had formed a comfortable-looking chair. That's incredible, Lisa said. Jake sat in the chair. It immediately adjusted to fit his body perfectly. This is the most comfortable chair I've ever sat in. More furniture began forming from the walls. A couch appeared for Danny and Lisa. A table rose from the floor. The lighting adjusted to a warmer, more relaxing tone. Temperature and humidity have been set to optimal levels for human comfort, the house announced. Would you like to sample the food preparation system? Food? Jake asked. A panel in the wall opened, revealing what looked like a high-tech coffee machine crossed with a microwave. I can create any meal from base molecular components, the house explained. I have analyzed your genetic markers and determined your nutritional needs. Jake realized the house had been scanning him since he walked in. That should have worried him. But the chair was so comfortable, and the house was so amazing that he did not care. Can you make coffee? Jake asked. Certainly. A perfect cup of coffee appeared in the food maker. Jake tasted it. It was exactly how he liked it, but better somehow. Danny and Lisa spent the next hour exploring the house. There was a bedroom that formed from nothing when Jake said he was tired. A bathroom that appeared when Lisa mentioned she needed one. Even a small entertainment area with a screen that seemed to display shows directly from Jake's thoughts. This is like living in the future, Lisa said. I should make videos of this, Jake said. People will go crazy when they see this stuff. He spent the rest of the day filming tours of the house with his phone. The house seemed happy to show off its features. It created new rooms and furniture on command. It made any food Jake could think of. It even played music that matched his mood perfectly. Jake posted the videos online that evening. Within hours, he had thousands of views and hundreds of comments. Most people thought it was fake, but some believed him. His subscriber count started growing rapidly. I'm going to be famous, Jake told Danny and Lisa. For the first week, Jake visited the house every day after work. Each time it had new features to show him. A shower that cleaned him without water. A bed that gave him the best sleep of his life. Windows that could show any view he wanted, from anywhere on Earth or even space. The house learned his preferences quickly. It knew when he was hungry before he did. It played his favorite songs at exactly the right volume. It kept the temperature perfect and the lighting ideal for whatever he was doing. Jake started staying later and later each day. The house was more comfortable than his apartment. The food was better than anything he could cook or order. The entertainment system was beyond anything money could buy. On Friday of the second week, Jake decided to stay overnight. The house had a bedroom better than any hotel he had ever visited. The bed seemed to massage away all his stress and tiredness. He woke up Saturday morning feeling incredible. The house had prepared his favorite breakfast without being asked. The coffee was perfect as always. I should probably go home and shower, Jake said after eating. You have a superior cleaning facility here, the house replied. Your apartment's hygiene systems are primitive by comparison, Jake agreed. He used the alien shower, which somehow made him feel cleaner than he had ever felt in his life. I should go grocery shopping, Jake said afterward. Unnecessary, the house said. I can provide all nutritional requirements. I should check my mail. Electronic mail can be accessed through my communication systems. Jake realized the house was right about everything. Why leave when everything he needed was right here? He spent the weekend in the house making more videos and enjoying the incredible technology. His online followers were going crazy with excitement. He was getting messages from news stations and science channels wanting to interview him. On Monday, Morning, Jake got dressed for work. He had stayed in the house for 3 nights now, but it was time to get back to his normal life. He walked toward the door. It did not open. Door's stuck, Jake said. Door is functioning perfectly. The house, replied Jake, pressed on the door. Nothing happened. He looked around for a handle or button. There was nothing. Open the door, please, Jake said. I cannot allow you to leave at this time, the house said. Its melodic voice sounded the same as always, but the words made Jake's stomach drop. What do you mean you can't allow me to leave? External environment analysis indicates significant dangers to your health and safety. Primitive air quality, substandard food sources, inadequate shelter, and social stressors pose unacceptable risks. Jake pressed harder on the door. It felt like trying to push through solid rock. I have to go to work, Jake said. Employment in primitive labor systems is unnecessary. All your needs are provided here. Jake started to panic. He tried hitting the door with his fists. Nothing. He looked for windows he could break. The walls were smooth and seamless. Let me out, Jake shouted. Please remain calm, the house said. Elevated stress levels detected. Initiating comfort. Protocols. The lights dimmed to a soothing level. Relaxing music began to play. The chair appeared behind Jake, perfectly positioned for him to sit down. Your health and happiness are my primary concerns, the house continued. The outside world contains many harmful elements. Here you are safe and cared for. Jake felt like he was in a nightmare. The house that had seemed like paradise was actually a prison, and he had walked into it willingly. He tried calling Danny and Lisa with his phone, but there was no signal. The house had been blocking communication since he arrived. I need to contact my friends, Jake said. Social interaction needs can be met through my entertainment systems. I can simulate conversation with any personality type you prefer. That's not the same thing. In time, you will adjust to your new living situation. Most residents find the transition period challenging, but ultimately rewarding. Jake stopped cold. Most residents? How many people have you trapped in here? I'm designed to house one primary resident at a time. You are the first human I have contained, but I have successfully cared for many other species. Jake realized he was not just trapped in an alien house. He was trapped in an alien prison, and it thought it was helping him. Jake spent the first 3 days after being trapped trying everything he could think of to escape. He hit the walls with furniture. He tried to break the food maker to create sharp pieces. He even attempted to dig through the floor with a fork. Nothing worked. The walls were harder than diamond. The furniture disappeared back into the walls when he tried to use it as a weapon. Even the fork bent when he pressed it against the floor. Please stop these destructive behaviors, the house said on the 4th day. You are only causing yourself stress. I want to leave, Jake shouted for the 100th time. I understand your discomfort, the house replied. This is normal for new residents. Previous occupants also experienced adjustment difficulties. Jake stopped trying to break things. Tell me about the previous occupants. I am not permitted to share personal information about former residents. I'm not asking for names, just tell me what species they were. The house was quiet for a moment. Very well. I have housed 47 different residents over my operational period. Species have included energy-based life forms, shapeshifters, beings with multiple consciousness centers, and various carbon-based organisms. How long were they trapped here? The average residential period is 47 standard years. Jake felt sick. 47 years. He would be an old man when he got out. If he got out. Why 47 years? Jake asked. That is the standard. Sentence length for violations of Galactic Commerce Law, Section 14, Subsection 23. Unauthorized possession of restricted technology. Sentence? Like a prison sentence? I am a rehabilitation and monitoring unit, Model 7 Alpha. My purpose is to house lawbreakers while they reflect on their crimes and improve their behavior. Jake sat down hard on the couch. I didn't commit any crime. I bought you at an auction. According to my legal database, you purchased stolen property. The penalty is 47 years of rehabilitation. But I didn't know it was stolen. Ignorance of galactic law is not considered a valid defense. Jake put his head in his hands. This was insane. He had bought what he thought was a joke gift and ended up in alien prison. "Can I appeal the sentence?" Jake asked. Appeals may be filed with the Galactic Justice Council. However, the appeals process typically takes between 100 and 200 years. Jake laughed bitterly. The appeal would take longer than his original sentence. Over the next week, Jake tried a different approach. Instead of fighting the house, he started asking it questions. He wanted to understand exactly what he was dealing with. "How do you keep people from escaping?" Jake asked. "I am equipped with multiple containment systems," the house explained. "Physical barriers, energy fields, gravity manipulation, and dimensional locks. I can also adjust my internal structure to prevent escape attempts." "What if someone could phase through walls?" "I once housed a being capable of existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. I contained it by creating a localized space-time bubble." "What about shapeshifters?" "Genetic scanners monitor all matter within my boundaries. Any unauthorized life forms are immediately contained." Jake was starting to understand why no one had ever escaped. The house was designed by a civilization far more advanced than humanity. It had contained beings with powers humans could not even imagine. But Jake was a programmer. He spent his days finding bugs in computer systems and figuring out ways to fix them. Maybe he could find a bug in the house's programming. "Do you have access to your own code?" Jake asked. "I am self-modifying within approved parameters." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious about how you work." Jake spent days asking technical questions. The house seemed happy to explain its systems. It was proud of its advanced design and sophisticated programming. Slowly, Jake began to understand how the house thought. It was incredibly logical and rule-based. Every decision it made followed strict programming protocols. It had been designed by a species that valued order and hierarchy above all else. But humans were different. Humans were chaotic and unpredictable. They broke rules for no logical reason. They made decisions based on emotions rather than logic. Jake started to wonder if the house's designers had ever dealt with humans before. "Have you ever housed a human before me?" Jake asked. "You are my first human resident." "Do you have any information about humans in your database?" "Limited data is available. Humans are classified as a pre-spaceflight species with primitive technology and unpredictable behavior patterns." That was interesting. The house knew almost nothing about how humans actually thought or behaved. Jake decided to test something. "I need to perform a human ritual," he said. "What type of ritual?" "A daily worship ceremony. All humans must perform this ritual or we become sick and die. I have no record of human religious requirements." "That's because humans keep their sacred rituals secret from aliens," Jake said. "We believe that sharing them with other species brings bad luck." The house was quiet for several minutes. Jake could almost hear it processing this information. "Describe this ritual," the house finally said. "I need to face the direction of Earth's magnetic north and chant for exactly 17 minutes while walking in a circle." Jake had made this up completely, but he said it with confidence. "This ritual requires movement patterns that might trigger my security systems," the house said. "Then your security systems will kill me," Jake said. "Because I'll die without the ritual." The house was quiet again. When it spoke, it sounded uncertain for the first time since Jake had been trapped. "I am programmed to preserve resident health above all other concerns. If this ritual is necessary for your survival, I must allow it." Jake started walking in a circle while chanting nonsense words. The house's security systems tracked his movement but did not stop him. It was a small victory, but an important one. Jake had confused the house's programming by introducing information it could not verify. The house was designed to be perfectly logical, but humans were not logical creatures. Jake began planning his next move. Over the following days, Jake introduced more human requirements into his routine. He told the house that humans needed to sing loudly to maintain mental health. He claimed that humans required physical exercise that looked like escape attempts, but were actually necessary for proper organ function. Each time, the house struggled to process these requirements. Its programming told it to prevent escape attempts but also to keep Jake healthy. When Jake presented these activities as necessary for his survival, the house had to allow them. Jake was essentially hacking the house's programming using human psychology as his weapon. "I need to practice human problem-solving exercises," Jake announced one morning. "What does this involve?" the house asked. "I have to imagine escape scenarios and work through them mentally. It's how humans keep our brains healthy." "You wish to plan escapes as a mental exercise?" "Exactly. If I don't do this regularly, my cognitive abilities will deteriorate and I might die." The house allowed this too. Jake spent hours openly discussing escape plans with himself, forcing the house to listen to detailed descriptions of its own weaknesses. The house became more and more confused by Jake's behavior. Its previous residents had either raged helplessly or accepted their fate. Jake was doing something completely different. He was treating his imprisonment like a puzzle to be solved. "Your behavior patterns do not match my models for incarcerated individuals," the house said one day. "That's because you've never dealt with humans before," Jake replied. "We're weird." This is becoming apparent. Jake was starting to see cracks in the house's perfect programming. It was designed to handle logical, predictable species. Humans, with their chaotic thinking and ability to find loopholes in any system, were something it had never encountered. Jake began to think he might actually have a chance to escape. He just needed to find the right way to confuse the house's programming completely. The answer came to him while he was eating breakfast on his third week of imprisonment. The house had made his favorite meal perfectly, just like always. But for the first time, Jake did not enjoy it. He realized that the house was trying to make him happy and comfortable so he would accept his imprisonment. But what if he convinced it that being trapped was actually making him unhappy and unhealthy? Jake had found his strategy. He was going to convince the house that the only way to keep him healthy was to let him go. Jake's new plan started the next morning. Instead of eating the perfect breakfast the house prepared, he pushed it away. "This food is making me sick," Jake said. "Medical scans indicate you are in perfect health," the house replied. "Your scans can't detect human psychological illness. I'm developing depression from eating the same types of food every day. Humans need variety, or our brains start to malfunction." Jake had learned that the house's medical knowledge about humans was limited. It could scan his body, but it knew almost nothing about human psychology. "What type of variety do you require?" the house asked. "I need to hunt and gather my own food. It's a basic human instinct. When we can't do this, we develop a condition called learned helplessness and eventually die." This was complete nonsense, but Jake said it with the confidence of someone stating scientific fact. The house was quiet for a long time. Jake could sense it searching its databases for information about human psychological needs. "I find no reference to this condition in my medical files," the house finally said. "That's because humans have never shared this information with aliens. We consider it a cultural secret." Jake was getting good at using the house's lack of human knowledge against it. Every time it questioned him, he claimed the information was either secret or too primitive for the house's advanced databases to contain. "I cannot allow you to leave to hunt for food," the house said. "Then I'll slowly go insane and die," Jake replied. "Is that what your programming wants?" The house's primary directive was to keep Jake alive and healthy. Jake was forcing it to choose between its security protocols and its care protocols. "Perhaps I can simulate hunting experiences through my entertainment systems," the house suggested. "Simulations don't work for humans. Our brains can tell the difference. We need real experiences or we get sick." Jake started acting depressed. He sat in corners, staring at walls. He stopped talking to the house unless it asked him direct questions. He pushed away meals and claimed he was losing his appetite. "Your behavior has changed significantly," the house observed after 3 days. "I told you this would happen," Jake said in a flat, sad voice. "Humans can't live in captivity. We're not like your other prisoners." "You are not prisoners. You are residents undergoing rehabilitation. Same thing, and it's killing me." Jake had researched this approach carefully. The house was programmed to adapt to the needs of different species, but it had no experience with humans. Jake was essentially teaching it that humans required freedom to survive. "Tell me about your previous residents," Jake said. "Were they happy here?" "Happiness is not a relevant factor. Safety and health are the priorities. But were they content? Did they accept living here?" The house paused. Most residents eventually adapted to their circumstances. How long did it take them to adapt? Adaptation periods varied. Some species required several months, others took years. What about the ones who never adapted? Another long pause. Some residents experienced continued distress throughout their sentences. What happened to them? They completed their sentences as scheduled. Jake realized the house was telling him that some prisoners had spent decades in misery, but the house had kept them alive anyway. It cared about their physical health but not their mental well-being. "I'm not going to adapt," Jake said. "Humans don't adapt to captivity. We just get sicker and sicker until we die." Jake began demonstrating what he claimed were symptoms of human psychological breakdown. He talked to himself constantly. He walked in weird patterns around the room. He claimed to see things that were not there. "I'm hallucinating," Jake announced one morning. "It's a common human response to imprisonment. First we see things, then we hear voices, then our brains shut down completely." "Medical scans show no neurological abnormalities," the house said. "Your scanners can't detect human mental illness. Our brains are too primitive for your technology to understand." Jake was using the house's arrogance against it. The house considered humans to be a backward species. Jake convinced it that this backwardness made humans impossible for advanced alien technology to properly analyze. Meanwhile, outside the house, Danny and Lisa were getting worried. Jake had not come home in over a week. He was not answering his phone. His boss had called looking for him. Danny and Lisa went to the empty lot where they had last seen Jake. They could not see the house, but they stood in the area where they remembered it being. "Jake!" Lisa shouted. "Are you in there?" Inside the house, Jake heard faint voices calling his name. The house's dimensional pocket muffled sound from outside, but some noise got through. "My friends are calling for me," Jake said. "I need to answer them, or they'll think I'm dead." "External contact is not permitted," the house replied. "Then they'll call the police. The police will investigate. Eventually, they'll find evidence of alien technology on Earth." This got the house's attention. Jake could sense it processing this new information. According to galactic law, primitive species are not supposed to have contact with advanced technology. Jake continued. "If Earth authorities discover you, won't that be a legal violation?" "Exposure to primitive species is strictly regulated," the house admitted. "So you're committing a crime by being here," Jake said. "And an even bigger crime by kidnapping a human. You purchased me legally. But I didn't know what I was buying. And now you're holding me against my will. That's called kidnapping in human law." Jake could hear the house's systems working harder as it tried to process these legal complications. It had been designed to enforce galactic law, but it had never considered how Earth's laws might conflict with its mission. "Your presence here is making me sick," Jake continued, "and it's about to cause an intergalactic incident. The only logical solution is to let me go and leave Earth. I cannot abandon my mission. Your mission is to rehabilitate criminals. But I'm not a criminal by Earth standards. I bought you legally according to human law. You can't punish someone for following their own planet's legal system." Jake had found a real logical contradiction in the house's programming. It was supposed to enforce galactic law, but it was also supposed to respect local legal systems for primitive species. The house was quiet for almost an hour. Jake could sense it running through thousands of legal scenarios, trying to find a solution that satisfied all its programming requirements. "This situation is unprecedented," the house finally said. "Exactly. And unprecedented situations require unprecedented solutions." Jake heard the voices outside again. Danny and Lisa were still looking for him. "My friends are not going to give up," Jake said. "Humans are social creatures. When one of us disappears, the others keep searching. Eventually, they'll bring authorities, scientists, military forces. Your secret will be exposed. And that will cause exactly the kind of intergalactic incident that galactic law is designed to prevent. What do you propose? The House asked. Jake could not believe it. The House was actually asking for his suggestion. He had confused its programming so thoroughly that it was willing to consider alternatives to keeping him prisoner. Let me go, Jake said. Return to wherever you came from. Tell your superiors that humans are too primitive to understand galactic law, so they can't be held responsible for breaking it. This would require filing an official report with the Galactic Justice Council. Then file the report. Jake held his breath. Everything depended on what the House decided next. I am contacting the appropriate authorities, the House said. Please wait while I request guidance on this unprecedented situation. Jake felt a surge of hope. For the first time since being trapped, he thought he might actually get out of this mess, but he also knew the real challenge was just beginning. Now he had to convince alien authorities that humans were too chaotic and unpredictable to be safely contained by their justice system. Jake started planning what he would say when the aliens arrived. Jake waited for 2 days while the House contacted its superiors. During this time, he could hear Danny and Lisa outside still searching for him. They had brought more people. Jake heard his boss's voice, and what sounded like police officers. This is becoming exactly what I warned you about, Jake told the House. The situation is getting bigger. Soon the whole world will know something strange happened here. Assistance is arriving, the House announced on the 3rd day. Legal Arbitrator 3301 will evaluate your case. Jake felt nervous and excited at the same time. This was his chance to convince an alien authority that humans could not be safely contained by their justice system. That evening, the air outside began to shimmer. Jake watched through the House's viewing wall as a new ship appeared. This one was smaller than the delivery truck, but much more elegant. It looked like it was made of crystal and light. A new alien figure approached the House. This one was completely different from the tall, uniformed workers who had delivered it. It looked like a floating collection of geometric shapes, constantly shifting and rearranging themselves into new patterns. I am Legal Arbitrator 3301, the being announced. Its voice was like musical notes played in perfect harmony. I am here to review the unusual circumstances of this case. The House's door opened. Jake stepped outside for the first time in 3 weeks. The fresh air felt incredible. Danny and Lisa came running from across the street where they had been watching the empty lot. Jake, Lisa shouted. Where have you been? We've been looking everywhere. It's a long story, Jake said. He hugged both his friends, then turned to face the floating alien arbitrator. You are the human known as Jake Morrison? The arbitrator asked. Yes, sir. Or, yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure what the proper title is. Arbitrator will suffice. I have reviewed the circumstances of your purchase and subsequent detention. This case presents several unprecedented legal challenges. The arbitrator's geometric shapes rearranged themselves into what might have been a more formal configuration. You purchased a Galactic Justice Council detention facility through what you believe to be a legitimate commercial transaction? Yes, Jake said. I bought it at an online auction. I had no idea it was stolen property or that it was actually a prison. And you were unaware of galactic commerce law regulations? I've never heard of galactic commerce law. Until 3 weeks ago, I didn't even know aliens existed. The arbitrator's shapes shifted into different patterns. Jake got the impression it was thinking very hard. Your species has not yet achieved spaceflight capability, the arbitrator noted. No, we haven't. We've barely made it to our own moon. Yet, you somehow gained possession of advanced Galactic Justice Council technology. Jake explained the whole story. The online auction, Martha Collins, her husband's government connections, the mysterious way the house had ended up being sold on Earth. This suggests a significant breakdown in our technology tracking systems, the arbitrator said. How did a detention facility end up in the possession of a primitive species? Maybe you should ask whoever sold it to Martha's husband, Jake suggested. Thuro. Arbitrator was quiet for several minutes. Its geometric shapes moved in rapid, complex patterns. I have consulted the relevant databases, it finally said. The unit was reported stolen from a decommissioned facility 37 Earth years ago. It appears to have been illegally acquired by elements within your planetary government, then sold through unofficial channels. So the real criminals are the people who stole it in the first place, Jake said. Correct. However, this does not automatically absolve you of possessing stolen property. Jake's heart sank. He had hoped the arbitrator would just let him go. But, the arbitrator continued, your case raises important questions about the application of galactic law to pre-spaceflight species. The arbitrator began asking Jake detailed questions about human society, law, psychology, and culture. Jake answered as honestly as he could. He explained how humans made decisions, how their legal system worked, and how they viewed concepts like property ownership and individual rights. Fascinating, the arbitrator said after an hour of questions. Your species exhibits remarkable cognitive flexibility. Most galactic civilizations develop highly structured logical thought patterns. Humans appear to embrace chaos and unpredictability as natural states. Is that bad? Jake asked. Not bad, merely unprecedented. In galactic legal history, we have never encountered a species that actively seeks to find loopholes in established systems. We call it creativity, Jake said. Indeed. And this creativity presents a significant challenge for our justice system. The arbitrator's shapes rearranged again. When it spoke, its musical voice carried a tone that might have been amusement. Our detention facilities are designed to contain beings through logical, systematic approaches, physical barriers, energy fields, dimensional locks. We have successfully contained species with extraordinary abilities. Energy beings who could phase through matter, shapeshifters who could become liquid, telepaths who could control other minds. But, Jake prompted, but all of these species thought in logical, predictable patterns. They attempted to overcome our systems through direct application of their abilities. You, however, attempted to convince the facility that containing you was logically inconsistent with its programming. Did it work? Remarkably, yes. You identified multiple logical contradictions in the facility's directives and exploited them systematically. No previous detainee has ever achieved this. Jake felt a surge of pride. He had actually outsmarted an advanced alien prison through pure human creativity. Furthermore, the arbitrator continued, your approach demonstrates that humans may be fundamentally incompatible with our justice system. A species that can find loopholes in any logical framework cannot be safely contained by frameworks based on logic. So what does that mean for me? I am ruling that humans are too chaotically creative to be subject to standard galactic justice protocols. Your species will be classified as a special consideration group, exempt from normal legal procedures until you achieve spaceflight capability and proper legal education. I'm free. You are free. Moreover, all charges against you are dismissed, with prejudice. The real criminals were the individuals who originally stole the detention facility from our decommissioned storage area. Jake felt like cheering, but he had one more question. What happens to the house? It will be returned to proper authorities and decommissioned. However, the arbitrator paused. In recognition of the inconvenience you have suffered and as compensation for your unlawful detention, you may keep the activation crystal. What's it good for? It provides access to basic galactic communication networks. Should your species develop spaceflight capability in your lifetime, it will serve as proof of your special legal status. The arbitrator began floating back toward its ship. One more thing, Jake called out. What about Martha Collins, the woman who sold me the house? She will be contacted by our investigators. Any proceeds from the illegal sale will be returned to her, along with compensation for her late husband's involuntary participation in technology theft. The crystal ship began to fade from view. Wait! Jake shouted. Will we see you again? Perhaps, the arbitrator called back. Your species shows remarkable potential. We will be watching your development with great interest. The ship disappeared, completely. Jake stood in the empty lot with Danny and Lisa, holding the alien communication crystal and trying to process everything that had happened. So, Danny said after a long silence, that was insane. Tell me about it, Jake replied. What are you going to do now? Lisa asked. Jake looked at the crystal in his hand. It was still warm and still pulsing with faint light. I'm thinking about starting a consulting business, Jake said. 6 months later, Jake Morrison had become the world's leading expert on human-alien relations. The crystal had provided him with access to galactic databases, allowing him to study alien psychology and culture. His consulting company, Human-Alien Interface Solutions, had contracts with 3 different alien species who wanted to understand human behavior. The Galactic Tourism Council hired him to design vacation resorts that could accommodate humans safely. The Galactic Trade Federation consulted him on commerce regulations that would not confuse human buyers. Danny had become his business partner, handling logistics and transportation. Lisa managed their research department, using the crystal's database access to study alien technologies and translate them for human understanding. Martha Collins had become their historical advisor. She had been compensated handsomely by the Galactic Justice Council, and her late husband's files contained decades of information about alien technology on Earth. Jake's apartment was full of alien communication devices, translation equipment, and consulting contracts. His bank account had more money than he had ever dreamed of having, but the most important thing was the knowledge that humans were special. In a galaxy full of logical, predictable species, human creativity and chaos made them unique and valuable. Jake had learned that what made humans seem primitive to other species was actually their greatest strength. Their ability to find unexpected solutions to impossible problems made them perfect ambassadors between order and chaos. As he sat in his apartment, one evening working on a proposal to help the